Blessings and namaste, everyone. I'm spiritualist, psychic, astrologer, and medium Ray Sette. Once again, I thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share with you my astrological and spiritual insights, this time for the month of June 2020. As we have been discussing for many months now, we are approaching our next eclipse season, which is in June as well as in July. In June and July, we have 3 eclipses, which will coincide with one another. Generally, we have 2 eclipses during an eclipse season, and the event of 3 eclipses certainly is emphasizing how extraordinary are these wonderful times. Eclipses generally occur 6 months apart from one another. Our last eclipse season occurred at the end of December and in early January, which certainly has been preparing us for this specific eclipse season. The early part of this year, those eclipses, as well as specifically the full moon on March 7th, those were opportunities to release fear and to cleanse all discordant energy which may have been present for many, many, many years, as well as possibly many lifetimes. So you can appreciate how extraordinary are these blessings which we are being offered the opportunity to embrace. Remember, whenever we are offered an opportunity to release fear, we need to be aware of the fear. And sometimes we misinterpret the event, that we emphasize too much energy and reinforce the fear instead of releasing it. We are in times of releasing much fear, which has been interfering with our well-being, as well as all the wonderful blessings that we would desire to experience. We are continuing to release all discordant energies, especially as we approach the June 21st solar eclipse. Now, we begin June. On June 5th, we have a lunar eclipse. That lunar eclipse is located at 15 degrees of Sagittarius. Each astrological sign is measured in degrees and minutes. Each sign is 30 degrees. In fact, all things astrologically are generally measured in degrees, in minutes. And what I'm emphasizing regarding this specific lunation is that it is at 15 degrees of Sagittarius. The 15-degree point is right in the middle. It's the middle point of the astrological sign. And what's prominent about that middle point is the middle point, the middle of anything. That is the strongest part of an entity. For example, when an arc bridge is created, that center mark, that center point, that center stone, back in the old days as it was created, that has to be the strongest point. That's what receives the concentration of energy and pressure. And when that point is weak, then the structure crumbles. So that center point needs to be the strongest. That's where so much energy is very, very much concentrated. And what I'm emphasizing with this lunation is that it is in the sign, as I've discussed in the past, the sign of Sagittarius, which is the sign of the higher mind, the higher self, higher beings, higher learnings, higher education, abstract, alternative thinking. The opposite of Sagittarius is Gemini, which connects with the lower beliefs, the lower forms of thought, the thoughts and the understandings of the third dimension. At this time, with this lunation, this lunar eclipse in the sign of the higher mind, Spirit is sharing with us alternative, higher, abstract, unconventional thinking, unconventional knowing. Remember, in order for us to make great change and to embark upon great change, we need to think abstractly outside the box. This lunation, this lunar eclipse on June 5th, is another opportunity, and it may be one of the final opportunities to receive great clarity, where much disclosure is being offered to humanity. specifically regarding the atrocities which have been bestowed upon the people for many, many, many years. The masks of the shadow forces are being dissolved. We are seeing with great clarity. Now remember, there are forces that do not desire for us to see with clarity. Now, the presence of Neptune is once again present at this lunation. Remember, Neptune is a trickster. Neptune can potentially mislead us. It can present illusions, delusions. However, once the fog that Neptune often creates is lifted, great clarity is given. Now, whenever Neptune is present, I emphatically inspire us to remember we need to not look with the physical eyes. We need to employ the energy of the third eye, which allows us to see things very, very clearly that exist beyond the third dimension. Whenever there's the presence, a strong presence of Neptune, we are inspired to go within. That's where the clarity is given to us. When we go within, when we communicate with spirit, the presence of Neptune does present the opportunity to communicate with spirit and the higher realms. However, when there is a potentially tricky alignment, as is present at this lunar eclipse full moon, we need to proceed with great caution, because the forces of the outer world will mislead, derail, and distract us from recognizing the clarity. So we need to go within. We need to allow ourselves to be very peaceful, very clear in our etheric being, and grounded with the energies of the earth. That Neptune presence also forms a creative and dynamic alignment with Venus. Venus is very strong and concentrated as well at the time of this lunar eclipse. It's creative energy. And because Venus is in the sign of Gemini, we do suggest embarking upon communications efforts, or endeavors, as writing, journaling. Perhaps even some of us who feel comfortable doing so can enjoy experiences like automatic writing. That's when we embrace these energies from a very positive perspective. Again, whenever we connect with working with spirit, we need to be clear and grounded, clear in our being and grounded with the energies of the earth. If not, that's when we are misled. I also strongly, emphatically suggest to embrace great care with medications, any forms of substances, especially around the time of the full moon. A lunar eclipse, because it's a concentrated energy of a full moon, it culminates and brings to fruition that which has been in motion for longer periods of time. Generally on a month-to-month basis, the full moon culminates whatever we began on the new moon, which is only about 2 weeks, but with a lunar eclipse, because again, it's a high concentration of energy, it culminates that which has been in motion for many, many, many years, for very long periods of time. Sometimes as far back as about 19 years. That 19 years connects with a lunar node eclipse cycle. About every 19 years, we have similar eclipse cycles. And as I've discussed in my writings and some other videos, that the eclipse cycles and series of 2020 are very similar to the eclipse cycles of 2001, especially the solar eclipse new moon we have on June 21st, and I'll get to that in a moment. Again, I'm emphasizing what to be very aware of at the time of the full moon on June 5th. Certainly use that energy, employ that energy, and channel that energy into creative endeavors. Also, Mars in the sign of Pisces, which Neptune is in the sign of Pisces, the sign of connecting with spirit, the psychic faculties, working with spirit, is very much in alignment with Neptune, as well as the sun and moon, full moon alignment. Just energizing, working with spirit, fortifying creative endeavors. Remember, as I've always emphasized, as I discuss in these platforms, I simplify these energies and how to use them. Remember, we have to apply it all to our charts and see how specifically how they may exactly connect with the other elements in our charts to really understand on a little bit more of a personal level how to embrace that energy. I'm offering points of reference as starting points. Always allow yourself to trust the guidance of spirit as to how to really embrace these energies and make the most of them. Remember, we always have choice as to how we will channel the energy of any astrological alignment. It's really up to us, the intentions, the understanding that we really have of specific alignments, and whatever it is that we will energetically set in motion, that will ultimately decide how the energy will play itself out. Remember, we are being offered many opportunities to recognize we are the masters of our destinies. And this is very much a time to really embrace that knowing and apply it and put it to some very, very, very good use. We have our balsamic moon phase, which prepares us for the new moon, as I discuss in many video forecasts. And again, we have been preparing for about 3 months for the solar eclipse, which is on June 21st. Because the solar eclipse, as the lunar eclipse, it's an intensified full moon. The solar eclipse is very much an intensified new moon, new beginning, which indicates a longer period of duration. A new moon generally begins the lunar cycle on a month-to-month basis, which is about 30 days, 28 to 30 days. The solar eclipse, intensified new moon, begins a longer period of experience, up to 6 months, sometimes even years. This solar eclipse that we have on June 21st, it is coinciding with the summer solstice. Now let me just backtrack a minute. I got a little bit ahead of myself. The balsamic moon phase will begin on June 17th at 4:50 a.m. Remember, that's an auspicious opportunity to prepare for the next lunar cycle. Now, the last 3 months, especially since the new moon on March 24th, that, if you will, began like the balsamic phase for this coming new moon on June 21st. However, if for whatever reason, if this is the first time you may be hearing this information, really concentrate your intention at the time of the balsamic moon to prepare yourself for this next extraordinary cycle of experience, beginning with the solar eclipse on June 21st. As I said, the balsamic moon phase begins on June 17th at 4:50 a.m. Now, on June 20th, we have the summer solstice. The exact moment of the solstice is June 20th at 5:44 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Whenever I emphasize specific times, I'm using Eastern Time. Again, June 20th, 5:44 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Now, almost exactly 9 hours later, on June 21st, 2020, at 2:42 a.m., again, Eastern Daylight Time, we have our new moon solar eclipse. And what is so prominent and extraordinary about this event is that it is located at the 0-degree point of a cardinal sign. The cardinal signs begin the seasons: Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. The 0-degree point of a cardinal sign is what is known as the world point. Whenever that position is triggered, energized, emphasized, we see changes taking place on a global scale. And I'm sure all of us are very aware of what is of what is shifting now globally. And what I'm emphasizing is recognizing what you're experiencing personally, that every one of us are being offered an opportunity to really embrace an extraordinary, wonderful, blessed new chapter in all of our lives. This is why for so many years, specifically since 2014, we have been offered the opportunity to really recognize and embrace. We are creative beings. We are masters of our destiny. We create all that which we encounter, whether consciously in human form or before we have embarked upon this human encounter while we were still in the spirit realm. I always think how before we've embarked upon this physical human journey, we've collectively gathered in a cosmic coffee house, if you will, with the higher realms, the higher beings, our spirit guides, and discussed the possibilities of what we would experience while we are in this human form. I believe that, and I've shared this metaphor many times, that before we embark upon this journey, we choose the colors that we are going to place on that artist's palette and what we will paint with those chosen colors throughout this existence. We are deciding in every moment of every day. We are creating a beautiful, wonderful painting with those colors, and what that painting will finally be, it's really up to us, and we are deciding in every moment of every day what that might be. I believe it was in chapter 3 of my book, I inspired us to recognize if we allowed ourselves to really recognize, embrace, and acknowledge every thought that we set in motion in every moment of every day, we would become very clear with how we've created all the experiences that we have encountered, and that we move past that victim consciousness mentality. The full moon that we experienced on March 7th highlighted and emphasized the Pisces-Virgo polarity. That Pisces-Virgo polarity is the victim consciousness ruling, or opposing being the master of the destiny. The Virgo element sometimes connects with that victim consciousness mentality, also connects with much fear. That Pisces element, the opposite of Virgo, really embraces the higher spiritual essence of our being, where we came from in that knowing. And always to recognize that, we need to release fear. Going back to what I was saying, the solar eclipse on June 21st, it's at 0 degrees of Cancer. That is the world point. Global shifts are taking place. For us personally, we have been offered many opportunities to really create our ideal life, whatever that might be for us personally, and really enjoy all that we would desire to enjoy while we are in this human encounter. And in order to set that energy in motion, we need to be very, very clear. Remember, the universe only reflects back whatever it is that we send out. So that if we are sending out thoughts of confusion, uncertainty, that's only what's going to come back to us. When our thoughts, that image we have in our mind of all that we choose to desire to experience, is abundantly clear, then that's exactly what returns to us. The moment of the solar eclipse, because it's a prominent new beginning, allow yourself to become abundantly clear with all that you would desire to experience. The placement of the sun in the summer solstice chart, it connects with the 8th house sector of the chart. That's the sector of the chart that connects with transformation and great power. So certainly we are transforming. We are embracing the power of our creative divinity. Remember, whenever I emphasize power, it does not mean that we control or overpower or inflict that power upon another. This is so that we are very instrumental in creating our destiny and all that we desire, so that we channel our intentions into all that which may serve the highest good of all concerned. Remember, whatever we create, allow yourself to encode the intention that all which you create to enjoy for yourself may also contribute to the highest good of all concerned. And remember, all of those blessings are returned to us abundantly, 100-fold, 1,000-fold. We are very much perhaps at a final transformation period, and these next 4 years are going to be, just on a global scale, very significant in terms of what will come after that 2024 time period. Because what's happening right now is, regarding specifically the astrological chart of the United States, is experiencing a Pluto return. Whenever there is a planetary return, that's when one of the planets have completed a full cycle of experience and it begins a new cycle of experience. Many times we review, especially at the time of someone's birthday, what is referred to as a solar return chart. That's when the sun returns to the exact position it was at the time when we were born, and it really begins our next year, which sometimes actually can take place either on the day of or even the day before the actual date of our birth. Again, it goes back to the position of the sun when one cycle, a solar cycle, is completed and we begin our next cycle of experience. All the planets will have return experiences when they've completed their full orbit around the sun and begin a new cycle of experience depending upon the event. A Pluto return only happens with in the chart of a country, because the Pluto return, the Pluto cycle, takes about 248 to 250 years. That's a major cycle of evolution, and Pluto connects with great power, that ability to manifest and bring to form great things. That Pluto element, that's that power of creative evolutionary divinity that's in all of us, that we are very much awakening to that component of our being. And we're at that last stage of that Pluto return cycle in the United States, and every one of us is a prominent element in creating what is to come next in our country. And I suggest for all of us to recognize all that brings us great joy, great passion. Become very clear with what it is that you are very passionate about. I always suggest for us to recognize that our passion, that which we are abundantly passionate regarding, that connects with our purpose. Passion connects with purpose. Great passion also is what allows us to bring to form great things as well. Remember, all that which we are very passionate about, that is an indication of a greater purpose. And when we embrace that greater purpose, whatever resonates with us on a personal level, that is very much contributing to the highest good of all concerns, specifically when it is created from that place of love. Once again, as we are approaching our new moon solar eclipse on June 21st, allow yourself to be abundantly clear with all that you would desire to experience. Now more so than ever, great shifts are happening globally. We need to be very careful and very clear not to give away our power, but to know our power from a place of love and humility as well as gratitude. Every day, begin your day from a place of gratitude. Focus your attention, direct your attention on all the blessings that are already surrounding you, and you will magnify and intensify those blessings, and so many more blessings will come back to you. Once again, I thank you for allowing me this opportunity to share with you some of the many astrological possibilities of the month of June 2020. I think you understand the essence of what I'm emphasizing here. I trust that we will all enjoy many blessings. Continue to generate love wherever it is that you go. Observe all things from a place of love and non-judgment. Love and non-judgment. Remember, as we advance on the road to spiritual mastery, we are always inspired to observe all things from a place of love and non-judgment. Once again, I thank you. Remain in the light and always in a place of love. And we will see each other again very, very soon. Many blessings to all.